My name is Paul Gibb. I work for Petrosys, and I'm going to run through a short presentation that I delivered to a PPDM luncheon in London in May. This paper was put together by my colleagues Mike Silver and Chris O'Neill in Australia, together with myself. I'm based in Aberdeen in the UK. The paper is titled Chronicling Quality and Confidence in E&P Data. So there's three themes just to touch on as we go through this paper. The first is, should only data of the highest quality be eligible for residency in a master data management system? And as interpretive data is subjective, how can you measure its quality? And thirdly, what is the difference between quality and confidence ratings? And do we need both? When we were putting this paper together, I was listening to a program on Radio 4 in February at the beginning of the year, and it was a discussion on how Google had been tracking metadata, what people looked at, when they looked at it, and how long they looked at it for, and that they hadn't previously used this information, and that when they did start to build algorithms that leveraged this metadata that they had captured, they were able to better target their advertising. And there's an element of this talk that we'll come on to when we come to the audit module that PPDM use, where we can leverage that same metadata, that same information that's recorded about who edits or changes our E&P data in our master data repositories. So we'll just go to our first question. Should only data of the highest quality be eligible for residency in a master data management system? Is incomplete data better than no data at all? The definition of quality is something that's measured against something else of a similar kind. Can you measure the quality of our data? And where it can be, and we believe we can, measure it against specific business rules. And where that measurement can be recorded, then even incomplete or poor quality data can be stored in a master data management system. Our system is called DBMap. It's based on PPDM, and we use around about 3,500 rules that PPDM have created. We also use our own rules, but these rules help us assess the quality of data, be it in our well header, directional surveys, in our tops, or in seismic data. So we've incorporated the rules provided by PPDM into our system, DBMap. We think that in many respects, data quality should be an objective assessment, and it should be computed by the system. And the assessment is done at the point of entry, so when we load the data, or at regular intervals. These could be run through cron jobs, could be run nightly or weekly. But it's the computer that's making the assessment. It's not an individual. The data is being assessed against a set of rules for the well header or for tops when that data is being loaded. Or if that data has been edited during the week or updated by a user, then when we run our cron job, we run the rules over that data at the weekend. Those changes are being assessed against the rules that we have defined. If you run a system without enforcing due process, it falls into mediocrity very quickly. The business rules need to be defined, and they do need to be enforced. And over time, you'll see that these business rules can be modified to suit your evolving business. If we think about our second question, as interpretive data is subjective, how can you measure its quality? Well, we have an example here that if you ask somebody how good they were at driving, the overall response, probably the largest response, would be, I'm an average driver. You might get some folk who say they're good, and you'd get very few who would say they were bad. But that's a subjective opinion. And how can you add qualifiers to that? Well, we might have a number of other questions that we can add on top of that first question. For example, have you ever used a mobile phone while you're driving? Have you got a speeding ticket or red light fine in the last 12 months? Or have you been in an accident? And could you, or do you, use your indicator when you're indicating to leave a roundabout. So these are questions that we can then apply and say, it's very simply yes or no, and we can then further qualify what might have been a subjective opinion about someone's ability when it comes to driving. And we can do much the same within our system for E&P data. If we think about tops, our tops that our interpreters create are subjective. It's their opinion based on their experience and their understanding. But we can add further qualifiers on top of that to help improve the data, such as, are there units of measure with that top? Is the top shallower than the TD within the well? So there's a number of things that we can add within our system that help support the inclusion of subjective data and then allow you to measure additional quality of that subjective opinion. So we think that it's really important when you load the data that you should seek to measure the quality of that data against your rules, but it shouldn't be exclusively to when you're loading it. If you can load data and it's of dubious quality and you've flagged it as such, you should be able to go to that data within your system and add information that is missing, or to add or change the errors that you might see in that data to improve its quality. It can also be a driver for geoscientists, for data managers, when they see data within their system which is flagged as low quality, for them to go and address that, to move that data through time from being a low quality flagged record to being something that is either medium or high quality, by researching and going finding the data that might be in a laboratory report, or it might be in a core lab somewhere, but you go find that data and add it to your system and add the qualifiers that then gives you the improved overall data quality within your system. If we look at the implementation of business rules, and in this particular instance, I'm looking at a well header, but we can set different business rules for different data types. My rules for my well tops, my directional surveys, my check shots would all be very different. But in this case, I'm looking at well headers, and I've got 6 rules. I've assigned 2 of the rules with a medium quality flag and 4 with a high quality flag. If my spud date and my source is set, then my data will have a medium quality flag. But if I also have the total depth coordinate reference system, the long latitude and longitude and surface information are set, I then am able to flag that as a high quality piece of data that I stored because it's met all my business rules. Is there a difference between quality and confidence, and do we need both? Yes. Confidence is a belief that you can trust or rely on someone or something. It's a subjective assessment, which in some cases can contradict your objective assessment, because the business rules imposed can be, in some cases, insufficiently complex to compete with real-world or human experience. If we think about an example where we are interviewing a candidate for a role within our company, we would assess objective criteria, such as do they have qualifications, certifications, or experience relevant for the role. But if I was interviewing that candidate and with me I had a recruitment expert who had interviewed hundreds of people, I could use his subjective opinion based on his work interviewing other people to help me determine whether this was a good candidate to recruit. And if he were to advise me that he thinks this person would suit the role well, and that while he didn't have extensive managerial experience, he did show initiative and enthusiasm during the interview, which would give me the trust that he was a good candidate, then I should recruit him. So we can use both the objective, measurable criteria, but also rely on the subjective opinion of experts in their field to help us flag our data. So if we return to our system in DBMap I have data that has met all of the rules. I then ask whether that data is from a trusted source. And I might have two fields within my system, and the data in one of those fields has come from a trusted source, might have come from an IHS contact that I know particularly well. He's a recognized expert in his field, and I could say that this data, while meeting all of my quality criteria, also has met my confidence criteria, and I could flag it as having high confidence. Can we chronicle the confidence and quality of data through time? And in this case, we can. We use the PPDM audit history module, and this will track the date stamps and the details of who makes changes to our data and the comments when that change is made. So going back to that example of Google storing the metadata of users and what websites they were looking at, when an individual works on a piece of data and they may edit that data, we capture within the system who the user was, when they edited the data, and there is a field for them to add a comment on why that data was changed. We could have that field to be selected from a drop-down list of pre-described reasons for the change, or we could have free text where they can add in quite a substantial comment if they like as to the reason for that change. So examples of that could be if I've loaded up data in 1983 for my well location. At the time, it met all of my business rules. I may have had only a few, maybe 3 or 4 business rules, but in 1983 it met all 4 rules, and the flag for the data was high. But through time, as I added additional business rules, but I haven't added any changes to the data, my well header, in this particular case, the location, hasn't met the business rules and has been downgraded. So in 2014, it didn't meet all the business rules, didn't even meet the medium criteria, and thus was flagged as low. And similarly, we can do the same with confidence. As a user, I was confident in 1983 that my data met the business rules, but as I worked with the data, looked at the well completion reports, noted that the well location was out, I became suspicious as to whether this was good quality data, and through time, different users, JBlogs and bsmith, have downgraded the confidence that they have in this system. So as well as improving data, we can through time also degrade its quality or confidence, but still keep it within our system so that we are able to use the data, but use it with an understanding of whether we should fully trust it or we should be suspicious of certain elements of its quality. In the system that we have, once you've been able to measure quality and confidence, we like to use visual cues. These are really useful to help the users when they're searching through a database find data quickly. So we can have filters set within our system to filter high quality or medium quality or low quality data, or we could look at all of the data and the visual cues would help us see what the quality or confidence was in that data. And just a quick snapshot of 2 screens from our system. On the left, we have a list of our wells, and we can see the overall quality and confidence of a well. So on the right, we have quality. On the left, we have confidence. And I can very quickly see that I've got some wells with high quality and some with low. But we can also then burrow down into elements of our data model, and we can look at the quality and confidence of data items within that well. So we can have different quality and confidence flags for well tops and for directional surveys and for check shots, for example, as well as core data, production data, and an overall quality and confidence for my well. So we think that where you can measure quality against specific business rules, and that measurement can be captured, then even incomplete or poor quality data can be stored in a data management system. We think the dual rating of confidence and quality is desirable, but end user control over confidence and quality is not. Quality should be measured by the system when you load the data or through a cron job against a specific set of business rules. Where we do allow the users to modify confidence, as that's more subjective, we will allow them to modify that within the system. Where that change has been made by the users, or where the rules have been amended within our system, the audit history module from PBDM allows us to capture when that change occurs and record the related metadata. So we can look at how that data has either been improved or degraded through time, and the decisions that were made when making those changes. We think if you have the information around quality and confidence, the most important thing for the users is to be able to quickly identify good quality data. So the visual cues within our system using the two half hemispheres allows you to quickly home in on the data that you want to work with. These same quality and confidence flags could be used for export routines. So when you want to take data and move it to another system, you can make one of the criteria where data meets either a medium or a high quality flag, just only export these tops or these wells. We're using in our system, which is DBMap, we're using 3.8 with some extensions brought forward from 3.9, and we feel that the PBDM data model is a good model for helping us manage quality and confidence within our system. Thank you very much for your time and for listening. Thank you.